I suppose the headline grabbing find has been the human remains that we encountered late in the day with that trial trenching programme. We identified what we thought at first was a trash heap related to the farm, a midden with junk in it. But one of our detectorists was excavating for a piece of metal that they'd located and encountered bone. And thankfully they were excavating carefully, because as we expanded that area, it became clear it wasn't just bone, it was human bone. And it was part of a human leg. After careful excavation, we've now uncovered at least 4 amputated legs. And they demonstrate both the damage to the body, to the bones, caused by either cannon shot or musket shot, we can't tell yet, but they also demonstrate the effects of the rather brutal surgery that was carried out here. And I was looking at one of them earlier, and the upper leg bone has been shattered by the impact of a missile, but there is a very, very neat saw cut where the leg has just come off below the upper thigh. And it's hard to imagine the horror that action must have entailed, given that there were no antibiotics, there's no anaesthetic, and during the day of the battle, hundreds of those operations would have been carried out at this farm. Between 5,000 and 6,000 men, all of them suffering injury, were treated here. Around 9 to 10% of them died. A lot more men died on the battlefield before they could make it here. The Allies did not at that time have a dedicated military ambulance service. The French did under Larry, but the British didn't. And men were just carried in by their comrades, and many died on the way or died even days after languishing on the battlefield with their injuries. So those remains have really made us think about the realities of war. If we were ever getting a little bit excited about the prospect of cavalry and British squares and all of that, seeing those human remains has really brought us down to earth and made us think. The civilians have, I think, been forced to think more about the suffering of our friends on the project, and those who have suffered can also appreciate, I think, the suffering that their comrades in the past went through. And the likelihood is that many of the guys here that have suffered amputations would not have survived if they'd suffered their injuries in 1815. It doesn't make it any better, but it's certainly, given the ethos of the project, which is about assistance and therapy, I think this has been a very, very positive outcome. So for me, this has undoubtedly been probably the most challenging, but also the most insightful and most productive, and I think most emotionally enhancing of all of the work we've ever done at Waterloo.